Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the Open Beta Full Class Reviews. In today's episode we're going to be covering the Enutrof here, which, for those who don't know, he's basically the loot class of Wakfu. Now, you may be curious, what actually sets him apart from the typical DPS stacking prospecting gear? Well, in truth, there's only two things. One, he has the ability, or a few abilities, that can apply the broke state. What this does is it forces a mob to drop at least one item from his loot table every fight. These can range from anything as simple as a dungeon key to slightly more advanced gear to items that have a really crappy drop rate, meaning, a mob drops only these set few items, and they're really rare items, but the percentage is, incredibly low. And odds are the mob that you're trying to kill has like a 24-hour spawn or something. But since these items are part of his loot table, he will drop one if you can proc the broke state, which of course at low levels has a very low percentage. Now, the other thing that the Enutrof is known for is the Enutrof's Blessing. Now, what this does is, at max, it increases your chances of applying the broke state by 20%, as well as 10% of the time you'll get a free item at the end of a battle that's completely unrelated to the mobs that you're fighting. So it's more commonly used or noted as the ability that gets you free gems for your Haven bag. So to put that into perspective, basically, like how often it goes off, I've had this thing sitting at 1% since, I guess, probably level 7. And before I had completed the tofu set, which there's 8 pieces in, I'd already collected 5 or 6 Haven gems. So it goes off pretty often, even at low percentages, and I couldn't imagine getting this thing at 10 and then just, I mean, it's a nice ability to have if you want to make some quick cash. So, I mean, I've got this. I actually had a little bit more than that, but I've been buying a bunch of items, trying to spread the wealth out across the economy. Anyway, so it's a nice ability to have, but unless you're wanting to go the water or fire trees, I don't recommend maxing this thing out anytime soon. Just put one level in it, and it'll go off as often as you need it to. It's a nice surprise when it goes off. Okay, so basically, what are the trees? Well, as in earlier videos, I covered the water, fire, and earth trees, and basically said that, screw water, screw fire, go earth, or, go home. This is the go-to tree. Well, while that, my opinion, actually still hasn't changed on that, I'm going to explain them to you anyways. Basically, water is your go-to loot tree. It has the only 2 abilities on the Enutrof that cause the broke state. Now, while of course you can use these 2 abilities with both fire and earth, water utilizes them a little bit more than just simply to drop extra items. For instance, there's the Purge ability. While it doesn't cost much and it doesn't do much damage, its main purpose is to increase the size of a pouch or cause the pouch to explode. Now, there's actually a misconception about this ability in that the bigger bags it can produce hold better loot. I can tell you from experience that this has never been the case, ever. I mean, anybody who says, the bigger pouches, guarantee, it doesn't do anything, I'm sorry. It's mainly used to give you a bigger buff, because if you pick up a pouch, you get a buff. I think it's 10%, and if you pick up a bigger one, it's either 30 or 50%. It changes depending on the beta. But anyway, so you get a bigger buff, basically, and that's pretty much it. And if you cause the bigger bag to explode, of course it's going to deal more damage, but it in no way, shape, or form increases the rarity of the items that can be picked up. It's just luck. I'm not even sure that that's tied to prospecting, to be honest. I can get just as rare items as a full prospecting water Enu, and I go full earth. I get most of my prospecting from earth gear and whatnot. I don't put any points into it. Now, anyway, back to the water tree. So basically, you have Tax, which is which is your next ability that utilizes broke. As long as your target is broke, your standard attack becomes a nuke. Now, I say standard into nuke because even though there's only an 11-point difference, this is your base damage. Okay, this is what all your multipliers come off of. So the higher number this is, the more damage you're going to deal. I don't care if you've got, 1,000 bonus % damage under your water tree. If this attack does 5 damage, you're only multiplying 5 damage times 1000%, you know? So the higher number that you have here, the better your percentages here are utilized. Now let's say you're fighting mobs that you don't care for the loot that they have, and you're just trying to get to the better mobs like a dungeon or whatnot, or you're just farming. You can use refinement. Now while this does use a Wakfu, it is in all essence a legitimate nuke. What it does is it does the same damage the tax does in the broke state, but it also destroys the item that the mob is carrying. Now it deals bonus damage depending on the rarity of the item, so, you know, if you destroy a gray item, it's going to do really craptastic damage, but if you destroy, like, a green item, it does more, you know, all the way up to, like, a gold item, like the dragon amulet and whatnot. But basically, the rarer the item, the more damage that it deals. Now, again, another misconception that people have is that if you apply the broke state via either refinement or, you know, one of your 2 looting abilities, that is the item that you get at the end of the fight. That is not true. The items you get from the broke state, or the items that you destroy via refinement, are not they're not tied into the items you get at the end of the battle. Those are completely separate. So you can cause a mob to drop an item and then him drop the exact same item at the end of the fight. If you would like a cool little, if you would like an example of this, something neat you can test out with little to no effort, create an Enutrof and fight the Berserk Woodsman in Incarnum. You know, that crazy chick trying to chop down a tree? Fight her and loot. If you can get loot to proc, which may take a couple tries, but when it procs, she'll drop the exact same emote, the rage emote, she'll drop that, as well as at the end of the fight, she'll drop another one. So, it's kind of funny. You'll get 2. You can only use one emote, you know, the other one will say, well, you've already learned this, you know, but, you know, it's kind of cool. Something I have yet to test, of course, is the Crocobur sword. This is a drop you can only get from one mob in the game, and he's a rare spawn that spawns once every 24 hours. Now what I was actually trying to do, but never got around to it, is basically to loot him and then beat him. Odds are you could probably cause him to drop this sword, and then when you beat him you'll get another one. So it'd be kind of cool to maximize that, because to be completely honest, without doing that, there's only going to be 365 of these swords floating around the market per year. You know, 1 per day, and that's if he's farmed every day. I got this sword about an hour or so after the servers came back up. Since they didn't fix the Saridas, I was able to kill him with a level 6 Sarida using the totem. It's pretty funny, but anyway. Okay, so that's the water tree. That is your loot tree. Okay, fire. Fire is more tactical. I say this because it doesn't present damage that you can use every turn. Basically, here, I'll show you all the fire moves in a fight real quick. Okay, first we load our fire spells. Now, something to note is that your Dweller can get something called the Flaming State. This is acquired by leveling up combat training. What this does is it's used in conjunction with your fire spells. See right there, I scalded the target? Okay, if my Dweller was standing next to him in the Flaming State, the target would take additional bonus damage at the start of his next turn. So it's a nice little bonus, I guess. As well as the fire moves can also burn targets. And as we see right here, boof, he gets scalded yet again. So, and also, looking at the fire spells, you can see the odd patterns that they have. This is, of course, the main problem that people have with the fire tree. The patterns are so varied, and the types of damage that they deal is just too specific for its own good. You know, I mean, try doing this in a group setting. Do you think that mob's going to be standing there? No. He's going to be running straight up to my face, beating the crap out of me. You know, I couldn't stand on top of a mine, and what if somebody pushes you off of the mine, you know? There's too much variance when it comes to trying to deal consecutive damage every turn. So next we're going to move the mine directly underneath our target, because our next fire ability basically deals bonus damage if the mine is underneath them instead of yourself. So, take a few turns. This would really help if Mind Mover was leveled up, because then you can move it more than one space at a time. But as you can see, just from looking at this right here, how tedious it can get trying to set up the proper pattern, or the proper positioning. So, you walk on top of it, and there's a current bug on this thing too. So, there you go. Now it's underneath him. Alright, so let's move back. End our turn. Okay. If there's a mine underneath the target, boom, takes bonus damage. Woof. Ta-da, he's burned. See, again, can't use consecutive moves. You have to move constantly. And if that one's used, it's turned into an AoE blast. Okay, next is Fire Damp Explosion. Again, nice crappy pattern. So that means we've got to move into position to actually use it. Alright, all just to make the range a little bit bigger. See? Small, large. Woof. Oh, so many requirements. Alright, and finally, let's try Hot Magma. Used on top of a mine, goes from being a standard line into an actual AoE. Does a decent amount of damage, but takes like 6 AP and 1 MP to use it. So again, it's very hefty. It's very hefty in the cost. Fire Tree is by no means the easy route. Oh, and real quick, let's talk about mines. These are produced by your geology support ability, so the higher level it is, the more mines are on the battlefield. If you use Mind Mover while standing on any standard mine, it turns it gold. Now, what do the mines do? Well, any fire spell cast from a mine has a % damage increase. The gold is, of course, 30% on everything. It also increases your ability to apply the broke state, to take away an MP, and to give MP to your teammates. As for how looting works with the Fire Tree, you're gonna pretty much act it out, you know? Pretend you're a water in you real quick while standing on top of your mine to get the boost. Okay. As soon as he drops his loot, you're probably gonna move the mine, to be completely honest. Because, again, the Fire Tree utilizes these, so go ahead and move the mine around. Get a little bit closer. Again, level it up. You know, level up Mind Mover. It saves you so much time. But anyway, go ahead and summon your Dweller. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to collect the bag. And this has a dual purpose. See, if you leveled combat training, not only can you collect the bag, but you can also position your Dweller to use the burning state in conjunction with your fire moves. That way, if you do scold one of your targets, with him standing next to him, they take that bonus damage. And of course, me being the the loot whore that I am, I totally went after the other one as well. But yeah, this is pretty much how you use the Dweller with the Fire Tree, and how you loot with him. Okay, so as you've seen, the fire moves are they're very specific in what they do, and they require you to have geology maxed out to really utilize it, and Mind Mover, at least 1 point in it, but you're going to want to make it bigger, because you know you're going to want to put points into it, because at level 1 Mind Mover only increases or only allows you to move the mine 1 panel. You know, max it out, you can throw it up to 12 panels, you know, and it also cheapens it. So, oh, and yeah, it's line of sight ability. Anyway, so you're going to have to go that route if you go the Fire Tree. I don't recommend it right now, and in fact, I really, really, really hope that either the mobs in this game change to support an actual tactical system to where they reward you for being that way, you know, or that they just completely redo the Fire Tree, because as it is right now, it's worthless in a team fight because of the major restrictions. You can't deal damage, the same amount of damage, on average every turn. The requirements are too high. Plus, you know, if anybody pushes you, has a pushing ability or a swapping ability like a Sack, IOP, Kra, you know, I mean, there's so many classes that can push you. You know, even a Sarira can push you. and they can remove you completely out of position and screw over your damage. At that point in time, you have to basically max out Phone a Friend and combat training to try and use him as a wall, or a to use him as a bouncing buddy, so they can't push you off of your mine without being, at a certain angle, or without putting themselves out of position. Like I said, it's a very tactical tree, and you can use it to really take advantage of other players, but there's no utility in it, there's no purpose to it, in the current condition of the beta, or in the current condition of Wakfu, because it doesn't reward this type of playstyle. It rewards stacking HP, stacking damage, and just beating the crap out of people 1v1. So hopefully they change that, because this would be a really cool tree to play with. Okay, so on to Earth. Of course, anybody who's seen my previous videos know that I rant about this tree, about the Earth Inu, basically saying it is the only way to go. Some people say it's flavor of the month, and in all actuality, flavor of the month would entail that basically it changes. Well, it doesn't. The Earth Inu has been the way to go for a very, very, very long time. It is the only way to go on this class to deal damage every turn without having massive requirements. Again, this game currently rewards the bruiser mentality, so tactics have no place, unfortunately. Now, how do you play the Earth Tree? Well, the Earth Tree is your main combo used to be Knight Spade and Shady Shovel. It's currently now Shady Shovel and Killer Spade, mainly because they nerfed Deadly Knight Spade. But let's go over the abilities anyway. So, 3 AP, Killer Spade. It's your average 3 AP ability. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage late game. However, it's used as pretty much your fill-in or your spammy button. That nice little attack that doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but you can use it a lot during your turn. The main reason, of course, is because the Zerker combines your AP and your MP. All your Zerker moves, all your Earth moves, while in Zerker mode, no longer run off of ability points. Now, instead, they run off of movement points, as long as you're in the Zerker mode. Now, there's several ways to play the Zerker. For starters, there's the types of mobs that like to run from you, like the Godbat or these little crabs here. Basically, you transform up, run to their side, go ahead and smack them down. Now, keep in mind, you can use Prime of Life like I just did if you don't have enough MP for a move. So if they're just out of range and you want to hit them with your nuke, or you want to at least hit them once for your turn, because keep in mind the Zerker you'll lose your transformation if you don't hit something every turn. Like right here, for instance, he's too far away for me to use my nuke on him. So I check the field and I'm like, crap, that's 5, 6, 5, crap, I can't do it. But I'm like, oh, okay, I'll destroy your transformation node, or your teleport node then. Bloop. Since I technically did damage, I get to stay in my Zerker form. Now, there's a lot of targets that like to run from you. And basically, in the Zerker form, you're not punished for it. So it doesn't matter if they run, because you get a DPS buff for every step that you take. Now, it caps off at 150% bonus, but it's dictated by by what level your Phone a Friend is. So right here, I think I'm dealing with a mature or an adult driller. Pretty sure it's adult. It's right before the ancestral. So I have to basically walk 3 steps, and I get 150% damage bonus. So, chasing a target, not a big deal. You can still DPS them down, or move to their side. Better position yourself. Keep in mind that you don't always want to move. If all of your Earth spells are the same level, you'll actually deal identical damage to you moving. So only move if you know you can get their back, or you know that you can get their side. Otherwise, you run a risk of hitting them once and then basically losing your hitting them once and losing your turn. So yeah. Okay, then there's just simply using your Dreller, using your weapon and your Inu form. Being in a Zerker just gives you more options for combat. You can DPS them down, you can chase down your targets, you can do whatever you want. But you're not limited to just that. It's actually, in fact, you can use everything that the other 2 trees can, and the Zerker. So, say for instance, you want to loot somebody. You can. Say for instance, you want to use your Zerker to beat this guy down because he may be able to kill you. what you do is you set your driller, you set your driller up beside you, and let him take the damage. Because you're an Earth Inu and you're not stacking prospecting, your driller has a lot of HP, so he can pretty much be your little tank. And also keep in mind that when you're fighting mobs, they will always face, generally, not always, I'm going to say 90% of the time, the mobs will face your driller if he's like on one side and you're on the other side of a mob. So you can get their side or get their back because they're facing your driller. You're not limited, basically. Final thoughts. Okay, so instead of going builds, we're going to go playstyles. And for the Enutrof, there's basically three. You're either going to be a Master Thief, a one-man team, or a Glass Cannon. Now granted, the Glass Cannon is almost identical to the one-man team. The only major difference is the fact that, well, basically, you're not going to be stacking HP. Instead, you're going to be stacking Strength. You're going to be a frontline runner, and you're going to be up there with the IOPs and the SACs and everybody else that basically wants to get the crap beaten out of them. So, yes, I was struggling to come up with a third type. I'll be honest, I wanted to basically include the third or one of the new statistics in one of these builds. To be completely honest, it's not really viable. It can be usable, but you're going to die incredibly fast. You have the frailty of a prospecting water in you. But the position in the battlefield is you're gonna be up there, as if you're a standard HP bruiser, and you're not gonna have the HP to back it up. So more or less, this is pretty much for the people that want an extreme challenge, that want to test their skills in being able to beat people up, I guess, and high risk, high reward. We'll go that route with it. But basically, no. There's only really two actual builds for this for the Enutrof, and that is, either you're either gonna go loot or you're gonna go survivability. That's it. I wish I could go more in depth into it, but the combos are pretty simple. You're gonna loot when you need to loot, and then you're gonna burst them down when you can. For the water tree, you've got tax and refinement for that, actually. So if you don't want to loot them, you'd rather just nuke them, then refinement. If you want the loot that they drop, then you're going to go cutting, and you're going to go rascalry. So that's pretty much it. I really don't ever see a point in using Purge until they actually follow through with the text on here that basically says Purge does damage, but it also makes the little bag on the ground bigger so it can hold more loot. Until they actually follow through with that and make it to where Purge really does, until the bigger bags really do contain more loot, I don't see a reason in using it. Maybe it was originally meant to do that, and they left the description here for that, for that purpose, but currently it doesn't. So, add that utility in, stop sitting on your ass. Okay, so, I don't know, that's kind of mean, because they're kind of rushing to get this thing done, but, Wakfu's been in beta for 4+ years, it's about time, they kind of get something finished. Anyway, okay, so, that's your water tree. Onto the earth tree. You are Mr. Spammy McGee, basically. You're going to run up in the front line, and as long as all of your earth spells are the same level, you won't need to utilize the bonus damage from chasing targets. Granted, you still have it in case a target runs, so you do have that burst just in case, but you don't have to maneuver yourself. Just simply spam Shady Shovel once. Though it does cost 5, you get 1 of your MP back if you're in Zerker form, so technically it's a 4 cost. Okay, so and beyond that, just 3 Killer Spades. And if, and only if, you want to, later on in the game, try to max out Prime of Life, by level 80. This is going to be an awesome PvP utility, especially for other classes that can hit you multiple times, mainly because of the 25% gain to MP per HP loss. So it's not too bad. Plus, if another class is trying to take away your movement, 75% of the time it'll convert that loss into gain. Plus, it gives you +2. However, at level 1, it's still usable. You still get +1. It fills in the gap, basically. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You do have a couple options for the Enutrof, but it really just comes down to whether or not you're going to be a team player or a team all in yourself. So that's pretty much it. Also, one more thing before we go. Cassidy has compiled a list of drops for the Inu blessing, for the Enutrof's blessing. Sorry. So if you can, jump on the forums under the Enutrof's fingers, the subform, and check a look at that. So far, she's got I think maybe 15 items. There's only 4 that really matter, and that's the 4 gems that drop the Merchant Deco. Was it Merchant Deco, Garden, and Crafter's Gem? Those are the only 4 I think currently exist. But yeah, so check that out if you want. Other than that, I guess that's the end of episode 1. I think next after the SRAM, I'm gonna do the craw. So anyway, see you guys in game.